Now that we've had a few days to reflect, think about the Minnesota Vikings 2022 draft, I feel like we can sit back here and give a better breakdown of the picks, be able to give better thoughts about the picks as well. We're not so emotionally charged anymore as we were Thursday, Friday, and Saturday as the draft was going on. So let's just start. Now that the dust has settled a little bit, we're able to settle in. Jamie, what are your thoughts on the 2022 draft for the Minnesota Vikings?
So, I mean, it was a roller coaster. We went live and at pick 12, as everyone knows, we traded back, which it made it a very long live video for us, but it was a surprising move trading back with the Lions. We talked about this before this, but it was, especially at first, it was kind of just like a disappointing thing because we knew we didn't get enough value. I still believe that we didn't get enough value for that specific trade. And then I thought in day two, even though we traded with Green Bay, which was in our division, I think overall that trade actually worked out really well for us, especially since we traded up for Andrew Booth. And I felt a little bit easier because of that. And there was other moves that we made that I kind of liked. And so at first it was kind of scary. And same with, we didn't do our due diligence on safeties before this draft. We hit a lot of the other positions besides safety. So when we had seen, it was like a player that we actually didn't really know enough about, and then diving into more of him and watching more stuff from him and seeing how he holds himself and things like that. And I think both of us were pretty impressed, and we really actually liked his style of play and being able to see how hard he hits with the athleticism on top of that, and knowing that he'll be able to kind of grow and his ceiling is probably also really high because of that reason. So, as the dust has settled, I feel a lot better about this draft compared to what happened after day one. Yeah. I think. Yep. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. See, the one thing when we talk about that trade, the one thing I agree. I think giving up 46 was probably a little much. I would have liked to have kept it. I would have liked to have maybe, like you said, maybe gotten a little more value. But you look at 32 and 34, you're basically getting 2 first-round picks there, because 34 is going to be a player that could have easily been a first-rounder, which we ended up trading it anyway. But that's my thought. Another thing is, we'll never know what other offers Kwesi had on the board. We'll never know what his board looked like. I mean, they kind of said it themselves. They might have had 10 players that, like, if one of these 10 players is available at 12, we take them. If they're not, we trade back. He said it himself, said at a certain point in the first round, we knew trading back was going to be the option. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting to see how he worked. Everyone talked about the Wall Street Kwesi. You're starting to see that. He traded back, yes, but unlike Spielman, he was willing to jump back up in the later round to get guys that he wanted.
Yeah, I did like
with
that.
Booth. We'll talk about with the Caleb Evans as well, helping with the cornerback room. But it was interesting to see that. And he valued different players better than other teams will value these certain players. And it was really interesting to see how his mind worked when it came to the draft. I mean, I know everybody was all over him after that trade to the Lions, even more on him after the trade to the Packers. Then he kept trading. We traded with Vegas twice, and it was nuts. But my thought, it was really interesting to see how he worked the phones and worked the trading. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a real insight into how he's going to run this team. He's not afraid to make those moves. Obviously, as we saw, he talked about being happy with your placement, with what you get in return. And obviously with the Lions and with the Packers trades, he was. So, but like you said, after kind of sitting back and looking at the picks more, I get more and more excited about everybody we got. I'm super excited about Lewis Cine. Like you said, I think he's a very impressive young man, which is weird. We can call NFL players young now. They're younger than we are. When you're a kid, you're looking up to him. Whatnot. But I think he's really impressive. His life sounds crazy. Born in Haiti, moved to Florida, jumped around to a couple of different places. Now he's here. I really like that pick. I like the second round picks. I'm really pumped about Brian Asamoah the second. I mean, you know that. I loved that pick when that happened. So yeah, as things kind of settle a little bit more, I'm fine with the draft. And obviously in this video, I think the trades are the trades. We're not going to factor that into our grades. I want to grade the players picked with the picks that we had. I think that would be a much more accurate representation. And the last thing I do want to say about Lewis Cine, though, is unfortunately for him, there's 2 players now he's going to be compared to his whole career. One is Kyle Hamilton, and 2 is will he be able to stop Jameson Williams? Those are the 2 people he's always going to be compared to. So, but overall, yeah, I'm really excited to kind of dig into this draft a little deeper and talk about some of these players and share final thoughts. So
yeah, let's do it. Before we do that, though, I want to thank everybody for watching the GG Sport podcast of the Minnesota Vikings. We're in Door Heartbreak, but always bleed purple. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, get notifications for our next videos and all that good stuff. But yeah, let's jump into this.
All right, sounds good. So we'll start off. We talked pretty much ad nauseum about Lewis Cine in a video of his own, and then we talked about Booth, Ed Ingram, and Brian Asamoah in another video as well. So if you want to check out more of our in-depth review of those guys, you can go check those videos out. But so obviously, let's just go through them. Obviously, pick number 1, Lewis Cine out of Georgia, defensive MVP of the national championship game. Like you said, the more we see him, absolute stud, fast, big hitter. Didn't have a lot of like ball production, I guess, with like pass breakups and interceptions, but I think coming from that defense with like how many players were drafted in this, like how many players on that defense, like 5 or 6. So, and like 11 players drafted total from that team.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more production from him in the NFL, especially learning from Harry. So I'm super excited about that pick. I love it a lot. Yeah. Any other thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we just talked about it a little bit more, but yeah, no, I like the pick a lot. He does look like a stud. He is someone that I wish I would have dived more into before the draft, just so I could have had like a better idea on him. But man, can he just hit? Yep. And I just love that he can hit that hard and also run a 4.37. It's 4.37 or 4.36. 4.37. That's so fast. That is so fast, and that gets me excited. That it's just speed and big hits. Like you gotta love that. So I'm super excited. I didn't actually know that he was from Haiti until you just said that. Yeah. So that's cool. Yeah. I feel that's part that I do kind of feel bad for him because he's keeps moving up north, and we just had a brutal winter here in Minnesota. So. Yeah, but whatever. I mean, he seems tough. He seems like he can handle it,
For sure. And obviously, as we talked about, Andrew Booth, corner out of Clemson. I think he's going to come in, potentially fight for a starting spot right away. Love that pick. I love it. I thought that was super cool. We could have taken him at 12. We could have taken him at 32. We could have just stuck and taken him at 34. We got him at 42. Perfectly fine with that.
Yeah, I liked him. Oh, I like him a lot. I think, this was like I don't want to say draft saving move, but I want to say like selecting him in this draft changed everything for me. If we ended up not selecting Andrew Booth at all, even if we would have traded up for someone else, I mean, any other player, the fact that we got him, it just made me feel completely different. I don't know. And I think a lot of fans feel the same way. It was kind of like the player we needed to get for this draft to look better than like what we all thought, especially after day one. So for me, it's kind of like, this is going to be the guy that's kind of like, I really like Cine or whatever, but Andrew Booth was supposed to be a first rounder. In my opinion, a massive steal. I know he has injury history and stuff like that, but still to have some guy who, when healthy, especially when healthy, can come in and potentially be a starting cornerback right off the bat. And you get him in the second round. I mean, even with the injuries, I think that's worth taking the gamble on, and I'm glad we did. So, and then I wanted to mention real quick too, in it, we go more in depth with the day 2 picks with their stats and all that stuff. And if you're interested in that, go check it out.
Yeah, definitely do that. But Andrew, love the pick. Ed Ingram, guard out of LSU, big dude, big dude. I think he's going to come in and compete for the right guard spot, maybe even the center spot potentially. Who knows? I think left tackle, right tackle solidified. Everything else I think is up for grabs. So I think he's going to be an integral part in that rotation, and we'll see what the guy can do when he gets here. I think it's an exciting time for him. Big dude.
Yeah, I'm excited. He's fast. He has the speed. I think, I think his vert and stuff weren't as crazy, but I mean, he ran like a 5.7 or something like that. So he does have some athleticism, some speed, big hands, strong hands, what I hear. And, I'm hoping, for me, this is the guy that, when I say Andrew Booth is like the most important player of our draft, in my opinion, I would say Ed Ingram his future will really show how this draft goes. Because this is a guy that we got, from all the trades that we did, this is the guy that we kind of got extra in the second round.
Yeah.
So if he ends up turning out to be a stud or a quality starter, anything like that, I think it will, when looking back at this draft, it will bring up the value over all of that. But
I know
I like him.
I know a lot of people said bit of a reach, maybe a round or two early, but if you like him, you like him. Go get your guy. You got to respect that with Kwesi. He went and got his guys, that's for sure. So
right. And like I said in one of our other videos is, you know, these actual teams have a whole team set up to figure this out and find the best players. They do their due diligence and all that stuff. So I trust what they think, especially it'll be interesting, especially like a stats guy like Kwesi and, you know, him having all the other people in the room to advise him. It'll be interesting to see how these draft picks turned up, because I feel like with this draft, there's a lot of guys that were picked that you could tell that Kwesi just they wanted. Like they went out and got the guys that they wanted.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on to our third round pick, Brian Asamoah. I talked a lot about this guy. Go check out our linebacker video if you want. I'm super high on him. I love the grit he plays with. He's flying around the field, high motor guy, big hitter. I'm a fan. I really, really like this pick. I think I had him number 4 for my linebackers, and obviously, you know, the top 3 were the top 3. You know, with the Kobe Dean who dropped, with Devin Lloyd, and then I think I put Chad Muma above him. But I like the guy. I'm super excited about this pick. I think he could come in and compete right away for work. And something I probably should have brought this up earlier, but it just hit me now. I saw somebody, I think maybe in one of our comment sections actually on Twitter, talk about how it's almost like we drafted for now, but we also drafted for replacements for the future. Like, you know, who are going to be, when these older vets end up leaving, we're going to have guys replace them, with Lewis Cine replacing Harrison Smith, with Andrew Booth replacing potentially Patrick Peterson, with Brian Asamoah maybe replacing Eric Hendricks down the road. So I know, I don't want to think about that yet, but you never know. It could happen. But
and Asamoah, what I do like about him is he's played. I feel like he's like one of those linebackers that are kind of pro ready compared to a lot of these like Chad Mumas and stuff like that. Like this guy has played in quality teams, and he was a star for that team and highly respected for that team. And that's what I'm kind of excited for. Is I think he's going to be that guy who doesn't have as big as a learning curve as some of these other, especially guys like what's your boy Troy Will, or that other linebacker that actually got picked in the second round.
Troy Anderson.
You know, he's not someone that's going to probably jump in and, you know, be an excellent linebacker right away. It's going to be more of a project. And I think Brian Asamoah, and Brian Asamoah also has athleticism, and he has those things where it's not like he hit his ceiling or anything either. So I like him a lot. And and the other thing I like about him too is he is running all over the field all the time. And he just has all that energy, and I really like that. That's kind of linebacker like.
And watching
the 3-4 defense.
Watching me drafted, the guy's pumped to play football. You know, he loves the game. Super happy to be where he's at. So I'm pumped.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now we're diving into some uncharted territory a little bit. We haven't talked about any of these guys yet. Round 4. So now this one was the first big trade that, or not, I guess I shouldn't say big trade. Kwesi jumped up to get
on day 3.
Probably again, maybe a round or so early. But Caleb Evans, I believe he started at Tulsa, played 4 years at Tulsa before transferring to Missouri to play in the SEC. Big guy, 6'2", 188. But yeah, I mean, Kwesi, this is the guy. He said he's like, what did he call him? Like a dark room player. Like he was sitting in a dark room watching tape, and he said this was a guy that he absolutely just fell in love with. A guy that jumped out to him. And again, maybe a little early, but he ended up moving up, getting his guy. And Kwesi said he loves him. I love the size this guy brings. I watched some of his tape. You know, there's not a lot of ball production. 1 interception at his 1 year at Missouri. Before that, he didn't have any at Tulsa, at least none recorded on here. But so what did he have? 6 passes defended last season though. So I think he'll take the raw prospect from, you know, first year at a big school, and you'll take him into the NFL, put him with your D-backs coach and coach him up. I mean, the size, you can't teach size and speed.
Right.
I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, with Kwesi, it's like this is a very intriguing pick to me, because I didn't really know much about him or anything like that. It was it was kind of a reach in our minds, but it was the fact that he traded up. It makes it obvious that this was Kwesi's pick. Like when Kwesi was in the film room and they were all looking at players and stuff, this is a guy that obviously stood out, And yeah, they probably knew like, we don't want to pick him in the first or second round, but we want this guy. Like, we're going to get this guy. I bet you they had him check marked on their list of the guys that they absolutely want later in the draft. And, you know, he didn't, I mean, he went up and get it. So I think this will be really interesting to see how he turns out, because I think this is the guy that will kind of show us what Kwesi's eyes for talent, I guess, is kind of. So
Right.
I think seeing how he turns out will be really interesting, because
Yeah.
what if he turns out, what if he's a stud? What if he ends up being like a shutdown corner, one of the best cornerbacks in the league or something like that? And all of a sudden you're like, Kwesi's a genius, like
Yeah.
Kwesi or something. I don't know.
Right.
So that's what's intriguing about me. It gets me jacked up, but
yeah, but I
see,
really
I'm
like the
excited.
pick. I'm super excited to see what he can do. So
Yeah.
can't teach size, like I said. So moving on to round 5, a hometown, I shouldn't say hometown kid, but Minnesota Golden Gopher.
Right.
I believe it's pronounced Asezi. I don't even want to try to pronounce that last name. I'm sorry if you ever see this video. Adameo or something like that. Not exactly sure. Defensive and defensive tackle. I think they had him play all around for Minnesota. 6'6", 285. Dude's got some size. I'm super excited to see what this guy brings to the table. I don't know much. Again, a lot of these later guys, I don't know a ton about him. But 2021 season, played in 11 games. 24 solo tackles, 6 assists, 30 total tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks in his career. 7.5 sacks total. Who does that sound like? I think didn't Daniil Hunter have like 7.5 sacks his entire career at LSU? I mean, I'm not saying.
I don't even think he had that many actually.
But anyway, a lot of size in this guy. I think they said he's pretty quick. He might have had a few injury concerns. Not 100% sure, but with that size, I'm raw talent. I'm excited to see what they'll do with him.
Yeah, me too. Of course, I like that he came from Minnesota, but yeah, man, 6'5", 6'6", 3.5 arms. Those are super long arms, which I really like to see out of defensive end. I mean, that was the reason why Aiden Hutchinson probably didn't go number 1, was literally because of his arms. So it's nice. I like the guys, especially in this point of the draft. I do like going for guys with potential. Maybe that is because we got our Daniil Hunters and our Everson Griffins, and maybe next year, what's his name, Robinson.
Janarius Robinson.
Janarius Robinson, yeah, he's like another one of those guys. So it'll be interesting to see how he turns out. We still have him, and people are excited about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like those guys with potential, especially it's a guy that came from Minnesota. So
SKOL Yuma, I think they said. So let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Next pick, also in the 5th round, Tai Chandler. Now this one, I was kind of surprised. There was some talent left on the board at maybe a receiver, some other skill positions. They decided to go running back. Now, what's this guy? 6 foot 210. That's huge. Watch some of his tape. The guy's a pass catcher out of the backfield. I think they said he might even compete for a return job. Solid running back out of North Carolina. I watched a few of his highlights. The guy can catch the ball. The guy can break tackles. The guy makes huge plays. He's fast. Again, I mean, this might be another one where you're preparing down the road for eventually Alexander Madison. He's at the end of his rookie deal. You're probably not going to bring him back. Maybe Delvin Cook you decide to move on from after this season. But either way, Tai Chandler could be a good 2nd or 3rd running back in that room. So I'm super excited to see what this guy brings to the table and how they're going to use him. I know a lot of times you didn't see a lot of like straight up runs from the Los Angeles Rams, but you saw a lot of pass catching out of the backfield. I think maybe that's what a guy like Kevin O'Connell, maybe Kwesi sees that as well. That's what this guy can do. So I'm excited to see how they're going to use him with the loaded running back room.
Yeah, like you said, like he's like the size of a solid size, or weight wise and everything, but a solid sized wide receiver. And that's a thing that bounces off tape for me, is just his receiving skills. He looks like he's just coming out of the backfield and he's just a receiver out there now, which we don't see that with any of our running backs right now. I think we haven't seen enough of Keenan yet, I guess, to say that. But as far as like, I like Delvin Cook, and he can catch the ball pretty well, but he doesn't look like he's a receiver out there. This guy literally looks like he's just going out for a pass.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting, a new dynamic to our offense. And yeah, he ran like a 4.38, I believe. And so he's extremely fast. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I would like to see, that's one thing we haven't really seen with Vikings offense of recently, is kind of having more of a gadget player. We haven't really seen it since we did have Cordero, I guess. And even him, we didn't use correctly with that. I think ever since we had Zimmer, we never really seen much of that gadget type player, and just
Right.
the guy who possesses those skills where you just throw him on the field here and there, and they'll make a play.
Right. So I mean, I'm excited to see what the guy can do. Moving on to the 6th round, Vidarian Lowe, tackle out of Illinois. 6'5", 314, big dude. PFF gave him an 80.2 overall grade. Again, I mean, tackle, I think we're good at tackle, but I mean, obviously you need depth because injuries happen. So a guy like this at that size, you know, I again, like I said, later picks, don't know a ton about these guys, but just looking at the size of this guy, and obviously, again, Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell, Chris Rumpf, they saw something in this guy. They think they can get something out of him. So with 80.2 PFF grades, pretty solid. So I'm excited to see what he can do, especially being a 6th round pick as well.
Right. And he was projected around round 5 actually. So at this point, it's considered a steal, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is good because a lot of the picks before that we're kind of reaching, but which is all right as long as that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
But it's always nice to see a guy who people thought were going to go earlier, and then we ended up getting him. And of course, we can use as much bodies on that offensive line as possible. You never know when someone's going to go down with injury, and we want depth. That's like a position that we really would need depth, because honestly, outside of our starters, I mean, who do we even have for depth at this point at tackle?
That's a good question. I don't think
that's a good question. There isn't a ton of that because we got rid of what's his face.
I mean, I guess you could technically put Oliudo at a swing tackle,
right.
Potentially. But yeah, so behind them though, there might be some younger guys on the team that I'm not too familiar with.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's a ton of depth. So I think this is a good depth pick for sure. Who knows if he's ever even going to see the field? Maybe he's big enough to can slide in and guard if he's needed there. But
I forgot I forgot where it was, but I saw someone created a list of their top 3. I think it's Bleacher. I don't remember, but created a list of their top 3 players from each round. Round 6, Lowe made that list, and on there they said they wouldn't be surprised if he'd be able to come in and be a reliable backup if needed right out from the get-go. And that's huge praise for anyone that's in round 6.
Yeah, for sure. So I like the pick. I like the pick even if it is a depth signing. So moving on, our next pick in the 6th round, Jalen Naylor, wide receiver out of Michigan State. Go Kirk Cousins. 6 foot 190. Same height and weighs less than the running back we drafted. His most recent season was his most productive, 37 catches, 695 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So, a guy coming every year, it looks like he's improved. His first season, he only played I guess he maybe had some injury concerns, played 6 games, 4 games, 7 games, and 9 games. Went from 138 yards, dipped to 106, up to 515, and up to 695, like I said. So the guy's improved every year. Got some talent. I believe they said this is the one guy that Keenan McCardle was pounding the table for, really wanted to get him here. Getting him in the 6th round. I mean, he's got a lot of competition on the team. You got Justin Jefferson, you got Adam Thielen, you got KJ Osborne, you got BC Johnson that people kind of forget about. You got Amir Smith-Marset. Got a couple younger guys as well who were on the practice squad last season. I'll add Jalen Naylor in there. Man, you got good competition at least, and seeing his production jump up this last year, he gets better every season.
Right.
I'm excited to see what the guy can do. He might even potentially compete for the punt return job. And obviously, KNA's got the kick return job locked down. But Jalen Naylor here got some speed. He can compete for that job. It's just you're adding competition to a room that's already stacked with talent, so that it can only help.
Right. And he ran like a 4. I said he ran a 4.5, but which isn't like the fastest we've seen. But this guy he was a state champion sprinter, I guess, and his nickname is Speedy.
Yep.
So that's definitely interesting. But it sounds like he's one of those guys that just they start super fast. Like you don't have to. It doesn't take long for them to get to their top speed, which is extremely important, I think, especially for route running and short routes and stuff like that in the NFL. So that's something that I'll be excited. I mean, the more speed we can get on the offense, the better. Because even though I obviously like Thielen and Thielen, actually all of them, Thielen, Osborne, and Thielen, Osborne, and Justin Jefferson, they're all really fast and they can kind of do it all. It's really cool, but we don't have like a guy that's like extra fast, I guess.
Right. Yeah. But solid depth pick, if anything. Come and compete. Can only make things better. Final pick, round 7, Nick Muse, tight end out of South Carolina. Looking through some of his stats here this last season, he had 20 catches, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, down a little bit from the season before where he had 30 catches, 425 yards, and a touchdown. So he had more touchdowns this past season. Obviously, with a 7th-round pick, you never know. You're kind of taking a flyer on a guy. You needed depth at the tight end position. We tried drafting one last year who was that punter / tight end who didn't really work out. I'm excited to see what this guy can do. Obviously, like I said, 7th-round pick, not a ton of expectation. A lot of 7th-round picks don't even make the team. But you're adding depth and competition to the tight end position behind Irv Smith, who we hope comes in, starts, stays healthy, and absolutely blows up this season. But, not a ton of production from this guy. I believe they said he was a pretty solid blocker.
Yeah, so that's what I think.
Kind of what you're bringing him in here for.
I think that's what it is. He's going to take on that more blocking role like we've seen in the past.
Yeah. And that's how Tyler Conklin started. And then you started getting him involved in the passing game. And
right.
Look at him now. He got paid. So you never know. You add him to the team, you bring him into camp, see what they can do.
Exactly.
So, looking at the draft overall, Jamie.
Yes.
What are you going to give it for grade? Now, I know we can talk about the trades, but I want your grades on the players.
I'm going to give both my grades.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I'll give both my grades. I'm going to give my grade for the entire draft, the whole process, the trades, everything. I'm going to give it a B-. I would say, that first trade was, I don't think we didn't get as much as we should have. I think we made it up enough where it kind of got me into going back to get Booth. It changed everything for me. So I feel a B-. As far as just players in general, I'll have to say a B+. So, it's like almost a grade above. I wouldn't quite get, I like Andrew Booth. I think those are fantastic plays. I think Ed Ingram, obviously, our Kwesi and all them know a lot more than me, but Ed Ingram, he seemed like he was a reach, quite a bit of reach. A lot of people think he's a reach. Same with Asamoah or whatever, which, he wasn't as big a reach, but I really do like him, honestly. So I think that's like a fine pick for me. But Evans, we did make a big reach there. One thing back with the trading, though, one thing I wasn't for sure if I liked is after we traded up from the 4th, we traded back for 2 picks in the 5th. I think I would have rather stand pat there and picked another guy in the 4th. And then when we get into, Azizi, I don't know how to say his name. I'm going to butcher all of that. But, I think he was a solid pick. He might have been someone that was also kind of picked early. I do really like the Tai Chandler thing. At first, I was like, a running back. We have literally 3 running backs that would make a roster in any team in the NFL, and we get another one. But then when I watch, I'm like, all right, we don't got that guy. We don't got a guy like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, so now I'm like, all right, I like him. And then plus, obviously, there's a lot of people out there who are just like, Tyler Chandler's like, that was my guy or whatever. And people really like him.
Yeah, I think Mel Kiper, or not Mel Kiper, Todd McShay liked that pick as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot. Yeah. Todd McShay, he's the one that really liked that pick. Vidarian Lowe, I didn't really know a lot about him, but once I read that other people thought about him, it made me feel a little bit better. And definitely, since we just talked about, we need more depth. And then Jalen Naylor, I think having as many wide receivers in there as possible is definitely good. And Nick Muse, we do need more tight ends now too. That's with Irv and stuff. It sounds like it's going good with Irv.
Yeah.
But he's more of a block. I like having the blocking tight ends and stuff too in there. But I think the biggest thing for me in this draft is, besides all the players and even the trades or whatever, was that we really went for position of need. And we come in here with cornerback being our biggest position of need, and we come out and leave with 2 cornerbacks in the first 4 rounds, which is huge for me in the secondary in general. So we got 3 guys in the secondary in the first 4 rounds, first 5 picks. And then I also thought linebacker too was like the sneaky second, maybe, and guard. We hit all of that on the button, and I think that deserves a lot of praise. And that's where my B+ comes. I could maybe even go A-. It's hard, but what do you think?
I think I'm going B+ with you as well. The one thing I will say about the trades is I definitely agree with you. Ed Ingram is going to be the man who decides whether the trade was good or not. Because obviously, like you said, we took 34, traded back, then traded back up, but then we took Ed Ingram with that extra 59th pick. So he will be the one that says, like, yeah, all these trades you made, if he comes out to be a starting right guard, even like top third of the league starting right guard or left guard or wherever you put him, then the the trades worked out for you. But obviously, I like the Scene pick, even though we didn't know who he was right away. Andrew Booth was a guy you could have taken at 12, 32, 34, but you didn't. You traded back up, and you still got him. You got Brian Asamoah. We talked about Ingram. You got Asamoah, who I liked. And then you got a couple players who I would probably go A, but I do feel like a couple of them are reaches. If a Caleb Evans works out, then you probably bump it up to an A-. But at this point, we don't know. I do feel like there are some reaches in there, probably some guys you still could have gotten a little later on. Maybe got some other value. But, overall, I like the players they got. They, like you said, they cover positions of need, while also, I think, hitting BPA on their board.
Yeah. At least for some of the picks, like Scene and Booth.
Yeah.
Those were absolutely need and BPA.
Right. And of course, at the end of the day, none of us will ever know if that was actually the case because we'll never see the draft board. We'll never know what happened on the inside. But overall, I like the draft. They address positions of need. They grab guys that they really wanted. And that's what I respect. Kwesi did outside the box things. He traded within the division. He traded back and he traded up and used some of the picks. And he traded
I don't care what anyone else says. I love it. People always say stuff about Spielman. I actually really liked when he traded. Like there's sometimes he traded too much for me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I hate more than anything is I hate the guy that just stands pat all the time. And to see Kwesi literally just go all over the place, up, down, back, whatever. It's exciting, man. It makes drafting exciting. He's making moves out there. Right. I don't know. I like it because we must have had the most trades that draft.
We'd have to, But he's going and getting his guys, and that you got to respect that. If we fans don't agree with it, that's fine. But in his mind, he went and he got the guys he wanted. He said, "Screw the draft boards, screw the trade values. I don't care. These are the trades I want. These are the guys I want. I'm gonna go get them. I want to be okay with it."
Yeah,
that's why I have this job. So
and that's the thing with the Evans pick. That's what I'm saying. Like that, it was so obvious that was his guy on his list that it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. Because that's the thing is like he is a first year GM, and it's fair for us as fans or anything to we want him to be good. He can't just come in and automatically. Obviously, I think we should be optimistic. We should hope he should be good, but we can't expect him to come, or we can't have him come in and just be like, oh, he's going to be great or whatever. Like. He went and got his guy, so it'll be interesting to see how those turn out because that's really what shows what a GM is. Obviously, being a GM is much more than just drafting, but it's probably the most important part
for sure.
At least looked at it from an outside perspective.
Yeah. Definitely. So that'll do it for this video. Yeah. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Let us know down in the comments your thoughts on the draft. Give us your grades, your player evaluations. Let us know what you thought of the draft overall. If you want to check out some of our other videos, click the links right up here for those. Most importantly, though, do not forget, subscribe to GG Sports Podcast. A lot of exciting stuff going on. Got the schedule release coming up in about a week here. We got probably some rookie camps picking up. We got OTAs and stuff going on. It's an exciting time. So join us for the ride. We will see you guys in the next episode of the GG Sports Podcast.
SKOL Vikes.